They tell you it's just being polite, that when someone knocks on your door, you should smile, let them in, pour coffee, and pretend you're happy to see them, whether you are or not. But deep down, there's a truth you've never dared to say out loud. Sometimes you'd rather that door stay closed, not because you hate people, not because you're cold, but because their presence feels like an invasion into the only place where you can breathe. You know that strange tension that rises in your chest when the doorbell rings unexpectedly? That flicker of unease, that instinctive pull to hide, to protect what's yours. It's not rudeness, it's a warning from somewhere deep inside you. And if you've spent your life feeling guilty for not wanting visitors, today you're going to hear the truth you've been waiting for. Carl Jung, one of the sharpest, most unflinching minds in psychology, would tell you this isn't a flaw. It's a sign your soul is speaking, and it's speaking loudly. Imagine this. The outside world never stops demanding, smiles on cue, conversations you didn't ask for, energy leaking out of you with every "how have you been?" In public, you can play the part. You wear the mask. Jung called it the persona. But when you're at home, you want the mask off. You want silence. You want to exist without performance. And when someone steps into that space uninvited, you're forced to put the mask back on. To be on again. That's why it drains you. Not because you're antisocial, but because you're being pulled away from your center. Jung didn't see introversion as a flaw. He saw it as a design, an orientation of energy. Extroverts gain fuel from the outside world. They need the noise, the crowd, the constant contact. Introverts, real introverts, refuel from within. Your home is not just four walls. It is a sacred chamber where your mind reorganizes itself, where your inner chaos settles. And when someone crosses that threshold, they don't just step into a room. They bring their stories, their moods, their energy. They tangle with the invisible threads you've been carefully weaving all day. And there's something else, something most people never talk about, the shadow. Jung described it as the hidden side of your psyche, memories, wounds, instincts, and truths you've kept in the dark because they didn't feel safe to show. When someone is in your space, even if they mean well, their presence can brush up against that shadow. You might not even know why you feel irritated or restless. You just do, because they've stirred something unspoken, something raw, something your unconscious has been guarding. That's why, after certain visits, you feel completely wrung out. It's not because you're weak, it's because your psyche has been fighting to protect you. And here's the part that will make you breathe easier. There is nothing wrong with you. You are not obligated to open your door to everyone. You are not less kind because you protect your peace. Every time you let someone in out of guilt, you give away a piece of yourself you can't get back. Jung's work makes it clear. Honoring your own boundaries is not selfish. It's survival. Think about the relief you feel when you come home after a long, exhausting day. You close the door. You take off your shoes. You exhale and sink into your own space. That moment isn't just comfort, it's restoration. Jung saw the home as a symbol of the soul, each room holding a part of you. The bedroom for intimacy, the kitchen for nourishment, the basement for what's hidden deep, the attic for your higher thoughts. The front door, that's the line between you and the world. And crossing it, either way, always means something. If the thought of unexpected visitors makes your body tense, that's not you being difficult. That's your unconscious telling you, I'm not ready to let this energy in right now. Respecting that is respecting your inner construction. We live in a culture that celebrates constant availability, endless connection, and smiling through exhaustion. But Jung understood something this world rarely admits. Withdrawal can be sacred. Sometimes your soul isn't calling you to disappear, but to return to yourself. That's the beginning of individuation, the journey to becoming who you truly are. And that journey doesn't happen in the noise. It happens in the pause, in the silence, in the moment you choose to stay with yourself instead of performing for someone else. You've felt it before, that mix of guilt and relief when you say no. Relief because you've preserved your space. Guilt because we've been trained to believe no makes us unkind. But here's the truth no one teaches. Kindness that costs you your inner peace isn't kindness. It's self-abandonment. So the next time someone knocks, remember, your soul has a voice. And when it says, not today, it's not rejecting them. It's protecting you. There's a reason some conversations leave you feeling hollow, as if the air in the room has been siphoned away. It's because every exchange carries more than words. It carries weight, energy, unspoken tension, fragments of other people's struggles. And if you're the kind of person who absorbs those currents, letting someone into your home can feel like letting a storm into your bloodstream. Jung once said, "The unconscious perceives what the conscious mind misses." You don't need to consciously identify what's wrong to feel it. Sometimes it's the tone in their voice, the way they shift in their seat, the heaviness they carry in their silence. You pick it up without trying, and suddenly your space doesn't feel like your space anymore. That's why, after the door closes behind them, you sit in the quiet like it's medicine. Because it is. But the world doesn't honor this sensitivity. It calls it overreacting, being antisocial, too sensitive for your own good. And if you've believed that long enough, you start to question yourself. Why can't I just be normal? Why can't I enjoy visitors like everyone else? That's the trap, comparing your inner wiring to a culture that worships noise. Jung's answer would be simple, because your soul doesn't work that way, and it isn't supposed to. If you've ever sat across from someone, nodding and smiling while a quiet voice in your head whispers, "I wish this would end," you know the toll it takes. It's not dislike. It's the strain of maintaining your persona when every fiber of you craves stillness. And here's the dangerous part. When you keep overriding that craving, you train yourself to betray your own needs. Over time, you forget what real rest feels like. That's why protecting your space is more than self-care. It's self-preservation. The introvert's home is not just shelter. It's a sanctuary. It's where your inner world can breathe without interruption. To invite someone into that space isn't a small thing. It's an act of trust, and trust should never be given by default. There's a metaphor Jung loved, the archetype of the hermit. Picture an old figure moving through the night, lantern in hand, not rushing, not searching for a crowd, but following the quiet pull inward. The hermit isn't hiding from life. He's protecting the flame. He knows that in the silence, the light grows stronger. This isn't isolation. This is devotion to truth, to clarity, to self. When you feel that deep pull to withdraw, to close the door, to let the phone ring unanswered, that's your inner hermit calling. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. And in a world addicted to constant stimulation, honoring that call is an act of rebellion. You're saying, "I will not trade my peace for performance." But here's where most people get it wrong. They think solitude means cutting the world off. Jung saw it differently. True solitude isn't about pushing everyone away. It's about creating the space to meet others without losing yourself. It's about arriving to connection with something real to offer, not scraps of energy you've scraped together because you felt obligated. And that's the balance you must master. Protecting your quiet without imprisoning yourself in it. Saying yes when it's right and no when it's necessary. Choosing connection that nourishes, not connection that drains. Because here's the truth. Every yes costs something. It costs your time, your energy, your focus. And if you're not choosing wisely, you end up bankrupt in ways you can't see until it's too late. You have the right to set the price for your presence. You have the right to choose who crosses the threshold of your home and your mind. And you don't owe anyone an explanation longer than one sentence. Not today. The more you honor that, the more you'll notice something shift. Your space will feel lighter. Your energy will last longer. Your thoughts will stop scattering like leaves in the wind. And you'll begin to understand that solitude, when embraced, isn't loneliness. It's alignment. Think of the moments you've been truly alone and at peace. The kettle whistling in the kitchen. The sound of rain against the windows. The way the air feels different when it's only yours to breathe. That isn't emptiness. That's fullness. Because in that stillness, every part of you finally has room to exist. This is the part the world never tells you. You don't need permission to protect what's sacred. Your boundaries are not walls against love. They are doors that open only when it's safe, and there is power in keeping them locked until the right knock comes. So the next time you feel that flash of resistance when someone wants to step inside, don't smother it. Don't call it selfish. See it for what it is, a signal from the deepest part of you, the part that knows exactly what you need, even when you're too busy or too polite to admit it. Because here's the truth. The more you listen to that voice, the more you become yourself. And the more you become yourself, the less you will tolerate anything or anyone that pulls you away from that center. Some people will never understand this. They will take your no personally, as if closing your door means closing your heart. But the truth is, the opposite is happening. You're keeping your heart alive by not letting it be drained to exhaustion. You're guarding the fire instead of letting it burn out for the sake of politeness. We've been trained since childhood to smile, to share, to be nice. But politeness without boundaries is poison. It teaches you to say yes when you mean no, to welcome people into spaces they haven't earned, to keep your own discomfort hidden so others won't feel theirs. And slowly, without realizing it, you become a stranger in your own home. Carl Jung would call this a distortion of the self, a life lived too long in the persona. The mask becomes so habitual that you forget what your real face feels like. That's why solitude can feel so startling at first. Without the mask, you have to meet yourself again. And if you've been avoiding that meeting for years, it can feel raw, even frightening. But stay with it. On the other side of that discomfort is something most people never find: your own truth. Your truth is quiet. It doesn't compete with the noise outside. It waits. And the more you return to it, the more you'll see that not everyone deserves a seat at your table. Your home, your time, your attention. These are currencies, and you are the one who decides where they are spent. The moment you start treating them as precious, you begin to live differently. You'll notice you no longer tolerate small talk that goes nowhere. You'll crave conversations that touch the soul, connections that don't leave you feeling hollow. And you'll start to see that the discomfort you once felt with visitors wasn't about them as people. It was about the kind of exchanges that left your spirit hungry. The shadow Jung spoke of doesn't just hide darkness. It hides potential, parts of you you've never fully explored because the world kept you distracted. Silence has a way of revealing them. Maybe it's a thought you've been avoiding, an idea you've been afraid to pursue, a memory you've never processed. In stillness, they surface. And at first, it's tempting to run back into the noise so you don't have to deal with them. But the brave stay. The brave let the shadow speak. Because here's the thing. The more you integrate those hidden parts of yourself, the less power they have over you. The restlessness you feel when someone visits unannounced often isn't about them at all. It's about the way they stir something in you that you've been keeping buried. That's why retreat isn't avoidance. It's preparation. You're giving yourself the space to face what's inside so that when you do step into the world, you're grounded, not scattered. Jung's path of individuation is exactly that, becoming whole. Not just the polished, public version of yourself, but the messy, real one. And that transformation doesn't happen in the middle of constant company. It happens when you dare to be with yourself without distraction, without performance, without escape. Imagine your home as more than a building. Each room is a piece of your psyche. The bedroom holds your deepest intimacy. The kitchen nourishes your emotional body. The basement hides what you haven't dealt with yet. The attic stores your higher thoughts. And the front door, that's the sacred threshold. It's not just about who comes in, it's about what comes in. Energy is real, mood is real, presence is real, and if you're sensitive to it, you have every right to protect that boundary like your life depends on it, because in some ways, it does. The more you practice this, the less guilty you'll feel. You'll stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. You'll stop apologizing for choosing silence over company. You'll realize that your peace doesn't need to be justified. It needs to be lived. And here's the unexpected gift. When you do choose to connect with others, it will be richer, deeper, more alive. Because you won't be coming from a place of obligation, you'll be coming from overflow. The best of you will meet the best of them. That's what true connection looks like. So let them think you're reserved. Let them think you're distant. They don't see the truth that you are fiercely loyal to what matters most, your inner equilibrium. You are not shutting people out. You are building the strength to meet them honestly, without the mask, without the performance, without losing yourself in the process. Protecting your solitude isn't selfish. It's the foundation for every authentic relationship you'll ever have. Because until you know how to be fully with yourself, you'll never know how to be fully with anyone else. There's a quiet revolution happening when you choose solitude over constant connection. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it changes everything. Because in that choice, you stop living for approval and start living in alignment. And once you've tasted that alignment, you'll never trade it for shallow company again. People will try to pull you back into the noise. Invitations, obligations. Just drop by for a bit. They'll say it's harmless. They'll say you're overthinking it. But you've learned the cost. You know what it feels like to give away your energy out of guilt and spend the rest of the day trying to recover. And you've decided you're done paying that price. Jung spoke about the archetype of the hermit, not as a recluse hiding from life, but as a guardian of inner light. That lantern he carries isn't for decoration. It's for navigating the dark, his own darkness. The hermit knows something most people avoid. The brightest clarity comes only after you've walked through your own shadows. And you can't do that with the world banging on your door every 5 minutes. When you honor your inner hermit, you step into a different rhythm. Mornings feel different when they start in silence. Thoughts take on a sharper edge when they're not drowned out by meaningless chatter. You notice things, your own breath, the way sunlight moves through the room, the subtle shift in your mood when you give it space to exist without judgment. This is not laziness. This is presence. And something else happens. You start to recognize the difference between the people who respect your boundaries and the ones who only care about access. The first group will knock lightly, ask if it's a good time, and accept your no without offense. The second will push, guilt trip, or act hurt until you cave. The difference is everything. One group nourishes you, the other depletes you, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. This is why learning to say no without apology is one of the most liberating skills you'll ever master. No long explanations, no overcompensating with fake smiles. Just a simple, not today. That sentence is a door lock, a shield, and a declaration of self-respect all in one. And here's the paradox. The more fiercely you protect your solitude, the more real your connections become. When you do say yes, it's not out of habit, it's because you genuinely want to share space, energy, and conversation. People can feel the difference. You're fully there, not half present while secretly wishing you were somewhere else. The truth is, most of us have been living with the volume turned up so high, we've forgotten what we sound like underneath it all. Silence isn't empty. It's full. It's the place where the pieces of you finally hear each other again, where your thoughts stop competing with the outside world and start forming something whole. Jung believed individuation, the process of becoming your true self, was impossible without this kind of inner work. And inner work doesn't happen in the middle of constant distraction. It happens in the unglamorous, ordinary moments when you choose yourself. When you say no to the knock on the door. When you let the phone go unanswered. When you give yourself permission to exist without performing for anyone. So maybe you are the person who doesn't like visitors. Maybe you're the one who prefers evenings alone, mornings in stillness, weekends without plans. And maybe that's not a quirk to fix, but a wisdom to honor. You're not weird. You're not cold. You're awake to something most people haven't yet realized. Peace is not a luxury. It's a necessity. And if anyone asks why, you can give them the truest answer of all. Because this is how I keep my soul alive. There will always be people who misunderstand you. Let them. You're not here to explain your every choice. You're here to live in a way that makes sense to your spirit. And if that means fewer visitors, more silence, more time walking your own path, so be it. The world will keep spinning. The invitations will keep coming, but you will keep your center. Remember this, a closed door is not a rejection. It's a boundary. And a boundary is not the end of love. It's the condition that allows love to survive. Protecting your solitude doesn't make you unkind. It makes you whole. And the world needs whole people far more than it needs polite ones. So keep the door closed when you need to. Keep the phone on silent. Keep your mornings sacred. And when you finally do step out, do it from a place of strength, not depletion. That is how you honor the hermit within. That is how you protect your light in a world that will take it without asking. And that light, your light, is worth guarding. Always.